If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. Nick Chubb's future in the NFL stands at a crossroads. And while the Cleveland Browns are staying eerily quiet, refusing to guarantee anything to their longtime running back, Chubb himself has decided to speak, not with empty words, but with purpose and fire. His message is simple yet defiant. He's not done, not by a long shot. The air around Berea, Ohio, is thick with uncertainty, but there's a glimmer of something intangible, hope. Whispers and rumors have been swirling, giving Cleveland Browns fans a reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, their beloved powerhouse running back could still be wearing brown and orange come next season. Those whispers haven't yet turned into action, but in a league like the NFL, silence is rarely just silence. It's strategy, it's calculation, and sometimes it's dismissal. Nick Chubb's story is one that once seemed like a script for greatness. When he exploded onto the NFL scene after being selected with the 35th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was something special. His rookie season was a strong introduction, 996 yards on the ground, just 4 yards shy of the prestigious 1,000-yard mark. But what followed was a display of dominance that solidified his name among the league's elite. For the next 4 consecutive seasons, Chubb didn't just meet expectations. He bulldozed through them, rushing for over 1,000 yards each year, showcasing his blend of vision, power, and straight-line speed that left defenders grasping at air. However, as brutal and unforgiving as the NFL can be, Chubb's journey took a painful turn, one that may have redefined his legacy in ways no one could have imagined. In just the second game of the 2023 season, Chubb suffered a devastating leg injury, a gruesome moment that made fans and teammates alike wince and gasp. The sight of Chubb on the ground, unable to walk, marked the abrupt end to what had the makings of another dominant year. And if that wasn't enough, fate struck again. During his recovery, a broken foot further delayed his comeback and wiped out a significant chunk of his 2024 season. The physical toll was undeniable, but the emotional impact? Even more significant. For a player like Chubb, who had built his reputation on reliability, durability, and unwavering toughness, to be sidelined so abruptly and for so long, it was more than a setback. It was a test of character. Now at 29 years old, Nick Chubb finds himself adrift in the turbulent waters of NFL free agency. No longer the top name on every GM's whiteboard. No longer the sure-thing superstar every team dreams of building around. His resume remains impressive, but in a league obsessed with youth and wary of injury history, his value has become a topic of harsh debate. And that debate has been echoed through the silence surrounding his free agency. The lack of concrete offers, the muted interest. The Cleveland Browns haven't shut the door on him, but they haven't exactly rolled out the welcome mat either. It's possible, perhaps even likely, that Cleveland will look to the 2025 NFL Draft to find fresh talent at the position. Jerome Ford is already waiting in the wings, and pairing him with a rookie would make sense from a roster-building standpoint. Yet even amid that reality, there are rumors, whispers of a potential one-year prove-it deal being floated Chubb's way. An opportunity not just to stay in Cleveland, but to finish what he started, to return, to redeem, and to remind the NFL exactly who he is. That door, while not wide open, isn't fully closed either. And make no mistake, Nick Chubb hears everything. The doubt, the skepticism, the premature obituaries being written about his career. He hears it all, and instead of shrinking beneath the weight of it, he's standing taller than ever. On Monday, Chubb delivered a message through his social media, a bold, emotionally charged declaration that has now gone viral. They've already wrote my ending when I'm just getting started. That line hit hard, not just for Browns fans, but for football lovers across the nation. It was a statement, a challenge, and a promise all rolled into one. Chubb isn't just rehabbing a leg. He's reloading a career. And he's aiming to remind the league that his story isn't over. It's just entering its most compelling chapter yet. Of course, the numbers paint a grim picture. In 2024, Chubb managed just 332 rushing yards on 102 carries. His average yards per attempt, a modest 3.3, was the lowest of his entire career. For a player who once averaged well over 5 yards per carry and consistently broke off explosive gains, those numbers sting. They're the kind of stats that get players labeled as washed, especially in a brutal business that treats running backs as replaceable commodities. But numbers don't always tell the full story. They don't account for rust, recovery, or the psychological weight of returning from back-to-back injuries. They certainly don't measure heart, willpower, or what happens when a man has something to prove. And right now, Nick Chubb has everything to prove, to the NFL, to the Browns, to his fans, and perhaps most importantly, to himself. Whether or not Cleveland ultimately offers him that one-year deal remains to be seen. The front office is keeping things close to the vest, perhaps waiting to see how Chubb progresses through rehab, perhaps exploring all their options. But it's hard to ignore the sentiment within the locker room, among the fans, and maybe even among the coaching staff, that this story deserves a better ending. Or rather, a new beginning. So while the Cleveland Browns aren't handing out any promises, and while free agency hasn't exactly welcomed Chubb with open arms, Nick isn't waiting for validation. He's crafting his own comeback arc. He's training, he's grinding, and he's locking in mentally, because in his mind, this chapter is far from over. Nick Chubb isn't done. He's just getting started. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. What if one of the NFL's most feared defenders suddenly made his way to one of the league's most overlooked contenders? That's the kind of scenario currently swirling around Micah Parsons and the Cleveland Browns, a union that would send shockwaves through the AFC North. While nothing is confirmed, the very mention of Parsons possibly donning the brown and orange has fans and analysts alike holding their breath, imagining the chaos he could bring to opposing offenses. Is this just smoke? Or is there a fire quietly building in Cleveland? Parsons has been the centerpiece of the Dallas Cowboys defense since the moment he entered the league in 2021. With an unmatched blend of speed, strength, and football IQ, he's already racked up Pro Bowl nods, All-Pro honors, and a Defensive Rookie of the Year award. His 14 sacks in the 2023 season alone were enough to rank him among the NFL's elite, and his impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. Whether lining up as an edge rusher or dropping into coverage, Parsons disrupts everything. And that's exactly the kind of weapon Cleveland might be dreaming about adding. But why would the Cowboys even consider letting go of a generational talent like Parsons? That's where things get murky. While Dallas picked up his fifth-year option in 2024, rumors suggest that long-term contract negotiations haven't been as smooth as expected. With the team's salary cap situation tightening and multiple stars needing extensions, some insiders have floated the idea that Dallas could listen to trade offers, not because they want to, but because they might have to. And that's where Cleveland, armed with draft capital and an aggressive front office, could pounce. For the Browns, who already boast one of the league's best defensive lines anchored by Myles Garrett, the addition of Parsons would be a game-changer. Imagine the havoc that duo could wreak together. Parsons' versatility would allow defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz to dial up exotic looks, confuse quarterbacks, and dominate third downs like never before. Pair that with a Browns secondary that's quietly become one of the NFL's stingiest, and you've got a unit capable of carrying this team deep into January, maybe even February. What if the NFL landscape was on the brink of a seismic shift, one that could send shockwaves through the AFC North and shake the very foundations of defensive football? That's the whisper circling league insiders and diehard fans alike. The Cleveland Browns could be eyeing none other than Micah Parsons. Yes, that Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys' defensive juggernaut, the kind of player who turns game plans into confetti and quarterbacks into nervous wrecks. It's a tantalizing possibility that feels almost too bold to be true, but it's just real enough to keep everyone on edge. Micah Parsons has built a resume in just a few short years that most NFL defenders would envy over an entire career. From earning Defensive Rookie of the Year to being a consistent All-Pro force, his versatility and raw explosiveness have made him the cornerstone of the Cowboys' defense. With 14 sacks in 2023 and another 12 in 2024, Parsons continues to terrorize offensive lines, disrupt rhythm, and dominate in both run and pass defense. His value to any team, let alone one trying to break into serious Super Bowl contention, is astronomical. But there's more beneath the surface. Despite Dallas recently exercising his fifth-year option, whispers of contractual tension are growing louder. The Cowboys' salary cap is tightening, and with big money decisions looming across the roster, it's not entirely out of the question that they might be forced to entertain offers for their star linebacker. Enter the Browns, a franchise known for pulling bold, sometimes unexpected moves under GM Andrew Berry. With ample draft picks and a defense already brimming with potential, Cleveland could offer both the capital and the vision to lure Parsons away from Dallas. Pairing Parsons with Myles Garrett might sound like something ripped from a Madden fantasy draft, but the Browns have shown time and again that they're not afraid to swing for the fences. Under defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, this team already plays with a relentless edge. Adding Parsons to the mix would supercharge that aggression, giving Cleveland perhaps the most terrifying front seven in the NFL. Offenses would be forced to pick their poison, double Garrett and leave Parsons loose, or try the impossible and contain both. For now, it remains a delicious rumor, but one that's gaining momentum with every passing day. No formal talks have been confirmed, but in the high-stakes world of NFL roster building, sometimes the loudest moves are made in silence. Browns fans are watching, Cowboys fans are bracing, and the rest of the league? They're wondering what happens next if one of football's most electrifying defenders decides to trade stars for stripes. Of course, at this point, it's all speculation. But in the NFL, speculation has a habit of becoming reality, especially when the fit makes this much sense. Fans in Cleveland are already buzzing, dreaming of number 11 suiting up at First Energy Stadium. And for a franchise that's long lived in the shadows of others in its division, the idea of adding Micah Parsons feels like the kind of bold, franchise-altering move that could finally shift the balance of power. Stay tuned. This one's just getting started. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!